Hi there, my name is Lori Ann King, and I currently live in New Mexico, which is in the southwestern part of the United States of America. I was born in central New York, and I lived most of my life in the Hudson Valley, just 100 miles north of New York City, which is on the northeast side of the United States. I am the author of Come Back Strong, Balanced Wellness After Surgical Menopause, a book that was born out of my own personal journey a few years ago. So before I get into my perspective of menopause in the United States, I'd like to share a bit of my story with you. In 2015, after years, if not decades, of pain and heavy bleeding, I agreed with my doctor to have surgery. I was hoping for the best case scenario, the simple removal of one ovary and its fallopian tube and the cyst that came with it. I was excited to erase the pain I was experiencing, and I really didn't expect anything else to happen. I awoke from surgery having learned that the worst case scenario had happened. I had received a full hysterectomy as well as a double oophorectomy. Uterus, cervix, fallopian tubes, everything had been removed due to the severity of endometriosis that had been found but not previously diagnosed. I expected to be pain-free when I woke. It didn't quite work that way. I was in severe pain. I was tired. I was afraid. I couldn't pee or poop. My body felt and looked swollen and bloated. This was uncharted territory, and I had no idea how to fix it. The reality was that I woke up from surgery in sudden surgical menopause, and this was something that no one had educated me on or prepared me for. Now, prior to my surgery, my limited knowledge and perspective of menopause was that it involved hot flashes and older women. And when I heard the word sudden or surgical menopause, I thought of hot flashes that started a little bit earlier than normal. Now, this was an oversimplified version of what goes on with surgical menopause. Now, some of you listening today are interested in learning more about natural menopause, while others may be going through surgical menopause, and you may be asking, what's the difference? The main difference between surgical menopause and natural menopause is the time frame and intensity of the symptoms related to the transition. During natural menopause, symptoms appear gradually, and they are sometimes so subtle that we barely notice the changes. And when we do, we can tackle one or two symptoms at a time as they pop up. By contrast, surgical menopause begins the moment the ovaries are surgically removed, as in an oophorectomy, or the ovaries are damaged due to disease, radiation, chemotherapy, or some type of medication. The damage to or the removal of the ovaries causes a sudden drop in estrogen and other hormones and a deficit that will not be replenished due to missing ovaries, and it causes an immediate plunge into menopause. That's what happened to me. I got hit all at once while I was recovering from major surgery, and I had no time to adjust to the difference in my hormone levels, and I suddenly felt off balance in my body and my life. Now, it's been over 5 years since that surgery and since that time that turned my world upside down, and I've learned a bit along the way. I've learned the importance of partnering and collaborating with my doctors. I've been with over 5 doctors in 5 years. One referred me out due to her inexperience with hormone therapy. One left his practice. One became too expensive, and then I moved across the country and needed yet another doctor. So the common denominator with all of them was that I was fortunate to work with doctors that treated me as a valuable member of my wellness team. They listened and they addressed my symptoms and my concerns, and they even suggested some outside reading to help me understand my options. Now, I believe this is really important regardless of where you live. As we transition through menopause, it's important to our emotional health to feel seen and heard. It's empowering to feel like we're part of the solution of improving the quality of our life. So in this collaboration or partnership, what's my responsibility? Well, it's my responsibility to educate myself, to study and read and learn about the stages of menopause, whether that be pre, peri, post, or even surgical menopause. It's my responsibility to understand the difference between traditional synthetic hormone replacement therapy, and bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and explore what feels right for me personally. It's important, it's my responsibility to know what questions to ask my doctor, especially if faced with surgery. And when possible, to bring a friend to my appointments to take notes and or keep track so that I get all my questions answered. It's an emotional experience, and so the right friend will have a different perspective and stay less emotional through the process. Now, if that's not possible in this day and age where a friend accompanies you, see if there's an option to record the session on your phone so that you can go back and listen to it, at least when you're less emotional than being present in that appointment. Now, I'm also responsible to know all of my options that will improve the quality of my life and decrease my symptoms. This includes alternative medicine and lifestyle changes. Health and wellness is a combination of art and science. The science part can be thought of in traditional medicine, surgery, prescriptions. The art part comes in the form of complementary medicines and lifestyle changes. Think acupuncture, chiropractic, massage therapy, counseling, essential oils, exercise, nutrition, meditation, stress reduction, yoga, finding your passion and purpose, your support system, and even adequate rest and sleep. These components can all improve the quality of your life while also decreasing your symptoms. Also, things like learning to say no and set boundaries, practicing self-care and self-love, monitoring my thoughts, my words, and my feelings, and guarding what comes in. In other words, what and who am I listening to? What am I watching? What am I reading? Focusing on laughter and gratitude, these are all wrapped up in the art side of menopause and overall wellness. Now finally, understanding that hormone replacement therapy is also a combination of both art and science. Whether you choose traditional synthetic hormone replacement therapy or bioidentical hormone replacement therapy boils down to a personal decision for you, your partner, and your doctors. Now, OBGYNs, internists, family practitioners, and endocrinologists may be part of your team that helps to balance your hormones. The science part comes in the testing, whether that's blood or saliva, of your hormone levels. They'll test your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, your thyroid, and even your cortisol. The art part comes in listening to your symptoms and understanding what your body is trying to tell you. There are times my levels come back as normal, but I don't necessarily want to feel normal. I want to feel exceptional. I want to optimize my hormone levels and the overall quality of my life. My book, Come Back Strong, was born out of service to help other women through menopause, both natural and surgical, and to educate and empower them in a way that I didn't always feel myself. Writing has always been therapeutic to me. The more I write, the more I release negative emotions like anger and anxiety and sadness and overwhelm from my heart and my body. 2 years after my hysterectomy and ovarectomy, I was still seeking balance, and so were other women. So I continued to write and publish about my recovery while connecting with women from all over the world who were struggling just like me. My writing took a turn toward awareness and education and empowerment for women everywhere. Writing became about doing service. My perspective of menopause in the U.S. is, number one, it's still a taboo subject. Number two, there's not enough education and support. Number three, it's challenging to find the right doctors. And number four, it can be expensive. Hormone replacement therapy, and specifically bioidentical hormone replacement therapy that could drastically help us, is not always covered by insurance. So let's look at these a little bit closer. Number one, it's a taboo subject. Menopause is something we still don't talk about in the U.S. After publishing my book, I went on a book tour. I hosted events in my local area. I met women who looked at me with tears in their eyes. They thanked me for sharing my story because it made them feel less alone. They, just like me, didn't know anyone who was going through what they were, and just being seen and heard was a vital aspect of their outlook. Even now, as I approach 50, knowing that peri, pre, and even menopause happens to women as early in their 40s, I probably only have one other friend my age that talks about menopause and hormones, and that's just unacceptable. we all have to be a little bit more vulnerable. We all have to begin the conversation, and that's with our friends, our family, with our medical support team, and especially with the men in our life. The second part of menopause in the United States is that there's not really enough education and support. As I said earlier, I was not prepared for surgical menopause, nor the intensity. I was informed that a hysterectomy was possible, but not educated on what comes after, especially with the additional removal of my ovaries. I felt very much alone, and even partnering with my doctors, at times I felt like I was over-complaining, and more than one said or insinuated that some of what I was going through, I would just have to learn to accept as part of the aging process. Now, with over 500,000 hysterectomies performed in the U.S. alone every single year, it seems to me that there should be more support groups and education. In the meantime, we can read books, we can attend seminars like this one. It was so graciously created through a collaborative effort of Helen in Scotland, Radha in Nepal, and Sarah in Wales, and it's supported by speakers and presenters who volunteered their expertise and their experience from all over the world. It's a wonderful platform to amplify women's voices as well as menopause, and I just love the collaborative effort of it as well, that women are so beautiful and so great at. We can also seek out menopause cafes that were born in the UK, but at least one that I know of has now popped up in the US in Connecticut. And again, we can talk. We can talk to our friends, our partners, our medical support team, our mothers, our aunts, and our daughters, and to the men in our life, as they are affected by menopause too. They all either have a mother or a daughter, a sister, a wife, an aunt, a friend, or a colleague that at some point in their life will experience menopause. I also believe that more education and collaboration needs to be created between women of all ages. There are decisions and conditions and perspectives from my teens and my 20s that I feel may have impacted how I experienced hormonal challenges in menopause in my 30s, 40s, and as I face my 50s. In menopause in the US, it's also a challenge to find the right doctor. Not all OBGYNs understand and treat menopause. And now, again, I've had multiple doctors over the years. One referred me to a colleague when she got in over her head. One left to practice. One was too expensive. I moved. I found another one. And in general, like as women, we're all a little bit baffled. And part of that is we thought that our OBGYN would be with us through all stages of our life. But it seems they know how to prevent pregnancy, manage pregnancy, and then provide postpartum care. But what about menopause care? Sometimes we will need to seek out an endocrinologist or an aging or hormone specialist. Overall, it sometimes boils down to word of mouth and a lot of phone calls. In the United States, there are two companies that I'm aware of, BioT and Body Logic, that are experts when it comes to bioidentical hormone replacement therapy and menopause care or overall hormone health. You can call them and get a list of names and practitioners in your area, and then check with your insurance to find one that is included in your plan. Now that leads me to the expense of menopause. For my personal choice of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, the hormones themselves are not covered. Some insurance plans do cover progesterone, but my estrogen and testosterone replacement are all out of my pocket. Now, by calling BioT, I was able to find several practitioners that specialize in hormone care in my area. I then cross-referenced that list with my insurance plan. So it helped to find a doctor within my insurance plan that specializes in this BioT, bioidentical hormone therapy, so that all my office visits and my blood work are covered by my insurance plan. And then I pay for the hormone therapy itself out of pocket. To me, it's very well worth it. Now, overall, as challenging as it's all been, I am optimistic. I believe that women have the power to make a difference in their own health. I believe that women can find balance in mind, body, and spirit during and after menopause. And I believe that together we can empower ourselves to play a more active role in our health and overall well-being, especially when partnering with our doctors. Midlife and menopause is a great time to reflect on where we've been and look to who we want to still be so that we can be more present with intention. Overall, it's time to speak up, to be seen, to be heard, trusting that when we share our story of menopause with transparency, with vulnerability, with authenticity, it gives other women permission to do the same. And together, we can advocate for change in women's health and hormone care all over the world. Thank you.